Are you ready?
We're ready to forget the further, once and for all.
The Insidious movies are some of the scariest and most atmospheric horror films ever made.
What?
But did you know there's more to the films than just scares? The filmmakers and actors experience strange and unexplained phenomena on the set, including buzzing sounds and thuds around the house. Some people believe that films are a window into the real world of the paranormal. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the exciting behind-the-scenes facts about the Insidious movies that will blow your mind. Let's start with a thrilling fact about the record time of Insidious. You'll be shocked to know that the crew wrapped up filming only 3 weeks after the start date. 3 weeks is a blink of an eye in the world of filmmaking. Most major Hollywood films take months, if not years, to make. Initially, the film's name was The Further, but then the filmmakers thought it was too literal and changed it to Insidious, which felt more mysterious. It may come off as a surprise, but minimal computer-generated imagery effects were used since it was a low-budget film. One example of such a scene is when the character Renai is walking around her house minding her own business. Someone's standing in the corner, but it's so subtle that not everyone notices it. However, some people do, and when they point it out, the excitement in the room builds. Even with minimal CGI effects, the film created a feeling of suspense and fear. While Insidious was praised for using practical effects, some scenes had to be filmed with CGI effects. For example, the scene in Insidious Chapter 2 where the spirit of the tall man possesses Josh Lambert was created using CGI. Here's another interesting fact about Insidious Chapter 2, where Elise Rainier is possessed by the spirit of the bride in black. Was inspired by a real-life experience that Leigh Whannell, the writer, had. Whannell narrates that he was once fast asleep in his bed when he woke up to find a dark shadow standing over him. The figure was tall and thin and had long black hair. He said he froze with fear and that he couldn't move. Moving on, Whannell said he was inspired by the film Poltergeist. Both films feature a family haunted by demonic spirits, and both films feature a psychic medium called in to help the troubled family. However, both Whannell and James Wan, the director of Insidious, wanted to make Insidious a different kind of horror film that focused more on suspense and atmosphere than on bloodshed and jump scares. James Wan wanted a film different from his previous work, Saw. And Wan was inspired by the Japanese horror film Ju-on: The Grudge, which is known for its slow-burning suspense and dread. Now, let's talk about the otherworldly creatures in the Insidious film. The lipstick-faced demon from Insidious is one of the most iconic horror movie villains of all time. Did you know the fact that the character was originally designed to be a clown?
Okay. It's okay.
The filmmakers changed their minds after seeing a picture of Kuchi-Sakiana, a Japanese ghost with a split mouth. The Kuchi-Sakiana's disturbing appearance was too much to resist, and the filmmakers decided to give the red-faced demon a more demonic look.
It's kind of like a clown.
The man behind the red and black makeup is Joseph Bishara, a talented composer and actor. Bet you didn't know this, but he was responsible for composing the spine-tingling music in the Insidious movies, which used 33 violins to create the famous theme music. In fact, Bishara made his first acting debut in Insidious as the lipstick-faced demon. Later, Bishara also appeared as terrifying creatures in The Conjuring 2, and Annabelle. Bishara is a true horror movie icon, such that Ty Simpkins, the actor who played Dalton, was so terrified that James Wan made him sit with Bishara while he got his face covered with lipstick. Yes, Bishara's face is covered with red lipstick, not paint. Wonder how many tubes of lipstick they went through to create that look. This way, young Ty was able to see that the demon who was haunting him was just a man underneath. Also, do you remember the long-haired fiend, a British spirit with jet black hair and a leather duster in Insidious 2? He was the first spirit to scare Renai. The scary ghoul in Insidious was inspired by a story that James Wan and Leigh Whannell heard from a friend. The friend said he woke up one night to see a man in a long trench coat with long hair pacing outside his room. This image stuck with Wan and Whannell, so they eventually used it as inspiration for the long-haired fiend. Let's move on to the creepy set locations for the films. Do you remember the scene where Josh enters The Further, a dark dimension, to rescue his son?
Oh, Lord. What are you doing here?
The filmmakers shot it in a place that is almost as creepy as the movie itself. The Herald-Examiner building in Los Angeles was once home to the newspaper that covered the Black Dahlia murder, one of the most horrifying murders in the city's history. The building is said to be haunted by the ghost of the Black Dahlia, and it is said that her spirit can still be seen wandering the halls. Even Rose Byrne said that she felt a sense of anxiety while she was filming in the house and had strange experiences, such as hearing footsteps when no one was there. The cast also frequently heard a strange buzzing noise coming from empty rooms on the set. Another film location for some of the further scenes was the basement of an abandoned building. Originally, the building was a mortuary. The basement, filled with old furniture and medical equipment, paired with special effects such as fog and shadows, brought about a very creepy atmosphere. You may have missed some Easter eggs in plain sight. When in Insidious 2, Renee is aimlessly walking through her home on the phone with a detective. Parker Crane's mother is seen sitting next to a window in the living room. Similarly, you wouldn't have noticed, but when we were into the first 30 minutes of Insidious 1, there was a shout out to another famous Wan film, Saw. A drawing of Billy, the Saw puppet, is on the chalkboard in a classroom scene with Josh. Here's a quick fact: James Wan was unable to return to the sets of Insidious 3 because he was busy directing Fast and Furious 7. Adam Robitel replaced Wan as the director of Insidious 3 and 4, but James Wan did not completely let go of the Insidious franchise.
Ready to forget, once and for all.
He made a brief cameo appearance in the film as the theater director during Quinn's audition scene, although you'd expect big Hollywood movies to have no copyright issues. But the makers of Insidious Chapter 3 mistakenly used Sharon Van Etten's song Afraid of Nothing in their trailer without approval. She only found out when a fan informed her on Twitter. She was later compensated for it. That fan certainly deserved a share of the payment. You must remember the fantastic performance of Stephanie Scott in Insidious 3. She visited a real-life psychic to prepare for her role as Quinn Brenner. She claims to have actually contacted the spirit world and described the experience as intense and the closest she's ever come to meeting a real ghost. On top of that, Stephanie Scott performed all her stunts by herself. Remember the scene where her character Quinn starts to get angry and she starts to bang her cast against the bed frame? She eventually gets so angry that she breaks the cast. Stephanie had to be wrapped up in a cast made of actual plaster that looked real yet breakable. It took over an hour to wrap her up. She had to break the cast in one go. In fact, this was also the scene when the filmmakers did not allow Stephanie to have fun in between the sets so that she would stay in character. Scott was truly dedicated to her role. But that's not all. We have another surprising trivia for you. No one would have believed that a film with an initial budget of just $1.5 million would be praised for being one of the most profitable films in Hollywood. The Insidious 1 earned over $99.5 million, and the Insidious franchise has had a gross earning of over $500 million worldwide. The Insidious franchise is an excellent example of how a small budget and a good idea can still lead to big success. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed learning about some of the shocking behind-the-scenes facts of Insidious. Be sure to like, share, and press the subscribe button for more movie insight and madness. See you next time.